One month ago, I bought $20 tickets to an insect expo, and today is finally the day. Was it a steal or a total waste of money?
Just by chance?
There's three right there. Still works. I think we need more of these. It's unusual.
Make a ball.
So the expo is called Bugtopia, and there was actually 2 days, but we only ended up going on one day, which was the first day. The line was actually way longer than most of us expected. It wrapped around two separate buildings of the hotel, and when we got there, the end was in the hallway of where the hotel rooms were. But anyways, after 2 hours, we finally got in, and it was nice and cool in there. This was my first time going to any expo, so I didn't really know what to expect, but the room was a bit smaller than I expected. The first thing I saw when I walked in was these ladies giving animal inspired face paintings. And then to the left was this giant booth selling pinned animals, and my girlfriend actually bought a few, and I'll put it on the screen now. They're actually really nice. I'm not too personally interested in bug pinning, but these were actually pretty well done. The seller is called Eddie's Bugs if you want to check him out. I honestly didn't come to this expo with the intention of buying anything. I just wanted to see some really cool stuff. And that's when I saw it. One of my favorite booths of the whole thing. This guy had two long tables just covered with invertebrates. It was actually pretty tempting to buy one of these, but I didn't have any terrariums set up at home, and I didn't want to leave them in these small plastic cups while I set up something. He had tarantulas, blue death feigning beetles, scorpions, centipedes. He had a whole bunch of stuff. I've honestly never really been a big spider guy, especially the big ones like tarantulas, but most of them were actually pretty cute. And I don't know much about the pricing of invertebrates, but just looking at these prices, I was pretty shocked. I wasn't sure if these were normal prices or they were overpriced. I guess I got a lot to learn. The guy even had a crab for sale. Then I saw this really awesome booth selling carnivorous plants. They're called the Trappery and they have a whole variety of carnivorous plants. I used to have a Venus flytrap as a kid but could never get it to eat an insect. It's actually pretty crazy to think about that there's plants out there that eat animals. Because whenever you think about a plant and food, you think about the sun, the water, the roots, not other animals feeding it. And then directly behind that was another invertebrate seller. I don't know if you guys could see it, but they have a whole bunch of black widows for sale, and I thought that was pretty crazy. They also got mantises, tarantulas, and beetles. And for all my aquarium lovers, they had an aquatic booth. They had a whole bunch of plants. They had some shrimp. They also had some fish hides that looked custom made, as well as some giant pieces of wood for the tank. And then we're getting into the artistic tables. These looked really great, but it honestly wasn't really something I was interested in. My brother also came with us and he had one goal: to find a new ant queen. He's a pretty big ant guy and he has like 4 different species. Maybe one day we'll make a video together on all the colonies he has. This table had 2 colonies, but unfortunately they weren't for sale, and they didn't have any queens for sale either. That was kind of his one and only reason for going, so unfortunately it wasn't worth it for him. This table was selling jumping spiders. I've always wanted one, so I was pretty tempted to buy one, but I didn't end up doing it. But maybe you'll see it in a future video. This table had a bunch of isopods I kind of skipped over in the beginning, but I came back around to check out what they had. They had some really cool mantises and they even had a vampire crab. A vampire crab is actually one of the pets I've always wanted to get, so maybe you'll see it in a future video too. And they also had this really cool stick mantis. Unfortunately it wasn't for sale, but I didn't have a place to put it anyway. And last but not least is the beekeeping table by UC Davis. They even brought a real hive and let people look inside, which was pretty cool. And that wrapped up my visit to the Bugtopia Expo. Remember I told you about those long lines we had to wait in? Well, this is what the line looked like as we were leaving. And now that you guys have seen what it looked like, let's talk about the original question. Was it worth it? Before I talk about my personal opinion, I want to talk about what other people thought of it. If you go to their Instagram or any videos talking about Bugtopia, you could see many comments and videos talking about how disappointed they were. The long lines, the small venue, some people couldn't even make it in even after driving hours to get there. The Bugtopia organizers posted a pretty long apology on their Instagram and talked about some of the problems and why it happened, and I honestly respect it. But fact of the matter is they knew that they sold all those tickets and still didn't plan accordingly. They didn't get a bigger venue or even stop selling tickets. They just let the event continue. They also did offer refunds to people, which is pretty nice, and they do seem sincerely sorry. They'll probably learn from it and just get better next year. And as for my personal opinion, and this being my very first expo, I honestly rate it like a 6, maybe 7. The first reason is the long line. We waited about 2 hours just to get in. The second reason is the small venue. It was kind of hard to move around and look at stuff without people being in the way. And the third reason and the main reason why it's kind of low is I wanted to see a lot more insects. There was maybe like 4 booths that actually sold insects and I just wish there were more. So to answer the question, was it worth it? Unfortunately, as of right now, I say no. But if they do it again next year, I do think it'll be much better and I might go again. But yeah, if you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like insects and small animals, make sure to subscribe. I got a whole bunch of videos planned out and you don't want to miss it. See you in the next one. Peace.